Hi again, guys. Welcome to the third video in my little, I guess, group of videos on how to learn to read tarot. If you haven't seen the other two, I would suggest going to see them first because I do talk about major arcana, and I get into other things too about getting started with tarot. So there is a section in this channel, in the video section, where there is like a folder, I don't know what you call it. It's just, it'll be called Learn to Read Tarot, and all the videos will be in there. So if you've just come across this one, this is number 3 in this series. So what I'm going to talk about before I get into the video on reading like the minor arcana, which are the, all of these cards that also have the major players like the kings and the queens in the deck. I wanted to talk about 3 things in this video. I wanted to talk about the shuffle, I wanted to talk about practice, and I wanted to talk about protection. So for the shuffle, what I wanted to just kind of touch on is that you can really shuffle any way you want to shuffle. You can really do whatever you want. You have to do what and I would suggest just do what feels natural. And release a bit. I think it's important to release expectation, release the need to control the cards. I see a lot of readers online. Cards will fall out and they're like, oh, I'll pick those up and put them back in. And you can do that sometimes. You're just like, I don't feel, I do it sometimes. I don't feel I'm ready. I don't have the question or what I really want to say solidly in my mind, so I'm not ready to pull cards. But I think it's still good to look at the card because it might be telling you something. So the shuffle, there's a lot of different ways you can shuffle. You can shuffle till cards fly out, which is kind of, let's see what happens here. So let's say just a card for everyone who's coming to this video, just a message. There you go. Do you see that? That came out just for you. What's it say? The Tower moment. Well, that's pretty much life right now. It is, isn't it? So there might be some information in this video that will kind of change your perspective on reading energy and reading tarot as well. So there's a Tower moment card. So that's kind of how you can ask for cards. Oh, look at that. The Hierophant's at the bottom. Yeah, see? Some of you might be having a big change in your perspective on your own spiritual connection here, how you're connected with others. Now, another way that I like to do this if I know specifically I want to pull like 2 or 3 cards to get an answer, is I will do the shuffle. If something falls out, I will still look at it. Like if I'm doing a general reading to an audience, I will pull it out and say, okay, there's some sort of message here, and I'll relay it, and then I'll put them back in. I'll do my shuffle, and then I kind of shuffle till I am told to stop. And there's different ways that can occur for you, right? So depending on how much you've developed your intuition, sometimes I feel like it's not good energy to continue to move my hands. Like it just like that, and that's a stop. Don't continue. I'm gonna lift this up a bit. I think it's too low so you can see. There we go. Oh, don't mind my skull. She's okay. She's good. She's good. So sometimes, yeah, I just feel like I need to stop. You'll just feel like you need to stop. Some people I've seen, they develop, I'm going to shuffle 4 times, I'm going to shuffle 5 times. That's fine too. And a lot of times, like a split the deck. And the reason I like a split the deck is because it allows the cards to fall naturally where they want. That's releasing that control. And then you kind of pick them up in whatever order you want. And then I will start pulling from the top. The 10 of Pentacles. See? This video is going to rock your world. It's going to change your higher perspective, and it's going to send you into abundance. There you go. So those are like just different. You can really shuffle any way you want. It's good to do, if you're going to do a reading, to shuffle all your cards, all your decks that you plan on using, to shuffle them ahead of time so they are well shuffled, and get the energy into the cards about what it is you want to read, what, topic or person that you want to do a reading for. So yeah, shuffling is pretty, it's really should be really basic. And I think you can struggle with that early on. because you think, oh, did I shuffle enough? Or maybe I didn't do this. Like, don't question yourself. Just let the cards fall where they may. That is really how it works. So that's kind of the shuffle. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Like, you can get into laying out the cards. I don't want to really include that right now because I think that's something to do once you've got a better handle on reading tarot itself. But yeah, there's different ways to shuffle, and sometimes I will combine both ways when I'm doing a reading. I might want to do the split the deck when I establish the cards that are coming out, and then I have a really small tarot deck here that I like to use for clarifying. So I like to use for clarifying, I will use my small deck. Let's see, because stuff will fly out like that. I love that it flew out. You see how it flew out? Like, it flew out and it landed right on this Ace of Wands. So immediately I'm thinking, this is trying to tell me something about the Ace of Wands. Whoa, and is it ever? The Lovers. Do you see how that works? It's magic. I'm telling you, it's magic. So the Ace of Wands, it's a very phallic symbol in most tarot decks. There's a lot of passion and desire behind it. So that's kind of funny. The Lovers flew out like that. See, it's just spirit. It's just the universe showing you how to do it. There you go. Nothing to hide, baby. That's just how it happens. So that's kind of the shuffle. If a card flies out, I see a lot of good readers that, you know, like to take cards from the top, but sometimes a card falls out and they pick it up and they put it in because they're just, they're allowing the cards to communicate to them as opposed to feeling like you need to control the cards to communicate to you, right? It's like just kind of being quiet to allow them to speak to you. There's the shuffle. So that's the shuffle. Now, I want to get into practice. So practicing tarot is one of the most important things you can do to develop yourself. It's like anything. If you want to learn how to ride a bike, you want to learn how to drive, you have to practice. You can also be the most talented and naturally gifted person at anything, but if you don't practice it, you're not going to be as good as you could be. So it is very, very important to practice. And I'm just going to go by my own experience in terms of how I got practice in. And please feel free to put in the comments, you know, alternative ideas as well, because those could be good for people who are also coming in to get some guidance. So for myself, I practice on myself, trying to read my cards for me early on. I will tell you that that is probably the hardest type of reading to do, is for yourself. It's getting a lot easier for me now, but I don't think it's the most effective way to get your practice in for tarot, for learning to read it, or any type of intuitive or psychic energy reading. I don't think reading yourself is the best way to get your practice in. So work with friends or relatives who you already have some sort of an intimate relationship with, like that you're close with, and ask them if you can do a card reading on them, on a particular topic that both you and them are quite open to each other about. So you know what the answers already are. I think that's the most important way to start reading first, is to read for things that you already know what the answer is. And then when the cards come out, you can start to see how the cards are trying to communicate to you, because you know what the answer is. So if you do that and it makes absolutely no sense at all, that it may be you might need to symbolize what it is that if you're making a complicated question like, how should this person go about improving their work or job prospects, right? Like that, you're going to get a lot of cards on that. And that it's difficult to read that much information early on. It can be difficult to read that much information when you're experienced at doing tarot. So you might want to ask a question: what is the first step that this person should take in improving their work situation? And then you can look, even if you get multiple cards out, you can look at the first card as the first step and the rest of the cards as additional steps to be taken afterwards. But read someone that you know, for the most part, you know what the answer is, and then you'll understand how the cards are starting to communicate to you. Then you want to reach out beyond that point and start reading people that you don't know, And then that's when you really start to pull in your ability and your intuition. And it's the trust. It's the trust in the read, in the information that you're getting. That can be the hardest. That can be the hardest. Is your own mind is what'll stand between you and being able to do a good reading. And I still struggle with it all the time. I think most readers probably do. I'll give you an example of what I did to read tarot for people that I didn't know and expect to read for free. A lot of free readings, I did them. I did a lot of free readings, a lot of free readings. So I joined a couple of Facebook groups. I think they were like Learn to Read Tarot and some other ones like that. I think the Learn to Read Tarot, I don't know if they've changed the name of the group, but I joined that one and I found it interesting too, because seeing how other people interpret the cards is also really important to learn to read them for your practice. And through that, once you get approved, like once you are kind of shown to the people that are running that group that you're not, your intention is good and you have learned a little bit and you're open-minded about the cards and the messages, they'll allow you to become a reader in the group. And then you can read for people all over the world. And I did do that. And I don't know how accurate some of the readings were at first, but it's free. So people kind of, they understand that you're learning. And hopefully you'll have sort of an experience like I did where I understood 100% that I was connecting. And the practice is also going to bring up something else for you that will be important to understand if you're going to read cards. If you're just reading for yourself, it's not as big of an issue. But if you're reading for other people, you are going to come to a point in time, in a reading for someone, where you have information about their life and situation that is not what they want to hear. And it's not going to make them feel very good either. So, yeah, that's not easy when you get that information. So that happened to me, and it was also a point where I realized that I was actually, there's really something here. Like I'm really connecting, and I have to understand, that how I convey this information to someone is very important because it's their outlook on their life, and it's not necessarily what they wanted to see in their life. B, if you choose not to give this information to someone, which is your choice, are you going for or against that person's greater good? Because if you're connecting, I should have talked about it in the shuffle too, and I will talk about that actually right now. If you're connecting with someone to do a reading, it's really important to know that you're connecting with energy that's for the higher good. There's a few different ways you can do that. So before I start shuffling, and as I'm shuffling, I will specifically, I've come up with my own little, I don't know if it's like a prayer or an affirmation, where I will just specifically ask that spirit guides working in divine love and light and divine truth for whoever I'm reading for, and just a reading in general, come forward at this time. And we're looking for clarity, guidance, and the truth for this person. I also, if you're doing a love reading for someone, and you're going to be asking or trying to ask for information about someone who technically hasn't given you permission to do a reading on them. Any love reading is that, because that's a third person. So if you've got someone who wants to do a reading, wants you to do a reading for them, and they want to know how someone feels about them, well, that person hasn't given you permission to read for them. So it's not a bad idea to incorporate another little sentence or affirmation where you are only looking for information that is in the best interest of all those involved. So you may not get all information. And I warn people about that. I'm not going to know everything that's going on here because it's not my business. And it's not necessarily your business. So these are important things to consider reading tarot. I don't know how much that's often discussed, like in other online videos, but it's really important. You want to make sure you're connecting with true source energy. There's a lot of mischievous energy out there, and it's very easy for that to come into a reading. If you don't our universe is based on free will. So it is my will as a reader, and as it should be for you, that you want the truth. You want guidance that is coming from source. And if you put that out there, nothing else can come into the reading, because it goes against your free will and would create heavy karma for any other energy that tries to come in. It's just not worth it for any other energy source to come in and reduce its karma footprint for, you know, a reading for someone. So having said that, you do want to be doing readings for the person's higher good. So when information comes in and it's heavy, it's always good to look beyond the heavy message. There's always hope, and there's always a happy ending. By God, there is. I've proved that in my own life, and I've seen it in other people's lives. Don't leave anyone hanging on a negative reading. Like, that's it, this person's gone, they're never coming back. Wow, okay, that wasn't what they wanted to hear, but that's pretty heavy and hard. So, I'll give you a little, this is actually what happened to me. So I was reading for a girl, I can't remember, like I'm here in Canada, and she was in, I want to say like either Denmark or Norway, I can't remember specifically. That's as much as the detail that I'll go into, like where she's located, but she was, had become a single mother. She had a young daughter. I think the daughter was like maybe 5 or 6, and she was pregnant. And her partner had left her. So basically she contacted me through this Facebook group, and she wanted me to do a reading for her. And she wanted to know if he was coming back. Right away I thought, oh my God, this is like heavy. I mean, how am I to be the person to tell you this information? Luckily this was before a time where I did like a live vid where I recorded my readings and then I would put them on a YouTube. I don't even think I had a YouTube channel at that point. I didn't. I was just practicing. So I said, oh, I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. Like what I would do is I would take photos of the cards that I pulled. I would pull in the information and I would write it all out in a message to the person. So I pulled out the cards, and the message that I was getting was no, no, no. This person is not coming back. This person is not coming back. And I just had this heaviness inside myself. I'm like, who am I to tell this person that? Like, I know that's not what she wants to hear. And she has a child with this person and she's pregnant. Like, what a, like, this was a very heavy reading for me. And I did sit on the information and I thought, But I'll tell you what pushed me. So as I did the reading, the information that came to me through the reading was that no, this man was not coming back. And B, it was not in her best interest for him to come back. And it was not in his best interest for him to come back. And the message that just kept coming through, and I could hear it in a phrase in my mind, the things that make him happy are not the things that make most of us happy. The things that make most of us happy are not the things that make him happy. So I thought, wow, okay. And then I continued to do the rest of her reading, and it was amazing. It looked like it was this dark, heavy energy around her and this person. And then there was definitely a period of reflection and trying to become strong again. And then her energy, the only way I could describe it is like an Oprah Winfrey energy. Like she would become somehow in her community a person that would uplift others. Like it was almost as if the cards were telling me she's going to go through this because she's going to become a shining light for others. She's going to be amazing. Her life is going to be amazing. So having all that information, I thought, okay, I'm going to send her the reading. I sent it to her and I heard nothing for 4 days. Gosh, I just thought, oh man. You know, that's a scary feeling. It is a really scary feeling. So, you know, reading tarot is not something to take on lightly. It absolutely is not. Because most of the people coming to you to get a reading, there's something in their life that isn't working out well. You very rarely will get anyone who's got everything going on perfectly for them in their life. Because you know, they're in a good space. Everything's working out for them. So you're going to be dealing with people that are going through heavy stuff. You really are. I finally heard back from her, and it affirmed everything for me in the reading. The only part she couldn't see yet was this kind of Oprah Winfrey energy that she was going to become. But when she told me her story, I knew she was going to be that. I knew her life was going to become amazing. So she actually opened up to me and told me that this person was both emotionally, mentally, and physically abusive to her. So let's not go into why she wanted this person to come back. That's not for me to, you know, to decide or to judge. There's obviously an attachment she had with this person, and also feeling very vulnerable, being a single mom and being pregnant and having no one there. And she said it was very hard for her to receive that message that he would not be coming back. But after she sat on it for a while, she did realize that it was not the best thing for her and her child, and soon to be kids, as she would have another kid coming around soon. So you know, when that information came to me, I realized too how careful Spirit or the universe is in telling you about someone. They never came out and told me that this guy is really abusive. He was in a situation that wasn't his life. He's just not the type of person to be a family man, I guess. Like it was not good for him. He needed to exit that. It was likely making him a person that he did not even want to be as well. Remember, how did Spirit describe that person? The things that make them happy are not the things that make most of us happy. The things that make most of us happy are not what make, you know, of course, I had pictures of this woman. She was very beautiful. She seemed very sweet. I mean, I don't know the details, but they had a little girl together and she was pregnant. I think a lot of people would think that that's really a beautiful start to life, but it wasn't for him. So if I had never given her that reading, if I had sat on it and said, you know, I'm going to be the one to decide that this person shouldn't get that information, who am I to decide that? It's not me coming through. If it's her own ancestral spirit guides, whatever it is that comes through in a tarot reading, if I've asked it to be divine energy, maybe that was a divine intervention for her to finally see the truth of her situation so that she could become, you know, and I could see it. I'm thinking, wow, this is a woman who's come out of a very abusive relationship. She's going to be a single mom. And the cards are showing me that she is going to shine her light so brightly and help other people. What if I'd never given her the reading? You know, maybe she would still have figured it out, but who knows how many times back and forth he would have been in and out of her life. Yeah, it's, you know, I'm just putting this out there. This is a reading so that you understand what you're getting into when you're reading tarot. Because I didn't understand until I did that reading. So that reading did a lot for me. That reading showed me that I was connecting with something. You know, what I saw was real. And what information was coming in was real. But it also made me realize, you know, do you really want to get into this? Because you're going to be in these situations. And when I do private readings of people all the time, you know, wanting to know about a spouse or wanting to know about work. And when you read too, the most important thing to tell anyone that you're reading for as well is that energy can always change. Situations and circumstances can always change. You can do a reading today and in a week from now, a person can feel completely different. You may only get half the story as well. The person may only be allowed to know how the outcome of something is up into the change of a cycle. And then when that cycle changes, they've completed that process, then they may be privy to more information. It's never the be-all and end-all when you're reading tarot. But you do have to be a human being. You really, really do. And I do want to also stress, the more experience you have in life, I think makes you a better reader. It makes you more sympathetic, less judgmental towards other people. Because I do get some people that are quite interesting, but I don't judge. You don't judge. You're going to get people who've got 3 or 4 lovers on the go and they want to know which one they should pick. I'll tell you every time too. They all know that that person is playing the field. And, you know, and they're always surprised. They're like, you know what, people just know. They know you're playing them. So you're going to get all sorts of people wanting to do readings for you. So that's a bit of the practice. I think that's a great way to practice. Just do free readings. And you got to do free readings for people you don't know. And I think the Facebook groups are really good. Maybe there's other groups and other social media outlets as well that you can do free readings for. Because when you do that, that's where you get confirmation that, wow, I'm really connecting to something here. How else would I know that this was this person, that this was her situation, right? So that confirmation gives you confidence to kind of relax into the readings as well. So that's the practice. The practice is so important, and you will never stop practicing. Even watching other tarot readers, I enjoy doing that. I enjoy seeing how they interpret the cards, how they interpret the cards communicating with each other. And everyone is different. I know some tarot readers don't always end off on a positive note. I really try to, because I think there's always a lesson to be learned so that you can move forward and be more successful in the next cycle. And that's really what tarot is reading about. You're reading the energy of a past, present cycle and trying to project into the future, and the future can always change. So that's the shuffle, the practice. And then I want to talk about the protect, because that's going to be really important. And this is for you. This is protecting you. Because when you do a reading, you are going into someone else's energy. You are opening yourself up to your intuition, to your empathic abilities. Actually, I would say if you're an empath, this is probably one of the best ways to utilize that. I do identify myself as an empath. I've always had trouble like managing, like you could feel the energy. You could walk into a mall and the energy is overwhelming. And I used to experience that a lot, to the point I couldn't spend more than an hour. Like I would have a raging headache, and you just had to get out. Now, as I've gotten older, I've learned more and more how to identify my own energy, because that's a key too for protecting yourself. You can't protect yourself if you don't know if it's your energy you're dealing with or someone else's energy you're dealing with. So when you're doing a reading, most of the time you're dealing with someone else's energy. So you have to get a handle on protecting your own energy first, really, before you can go into here, or you're going to be really overwhelmed. Yeah, it won't be good. You're going to be really overwhelmed. So there's a few ways you can protect yourself. I had a psychic reader identify me as an empath quite a few years ago, and it really opened up a lot for me. I hadn't even heard of the phrase. I thought, what is she talking about? And she gave me quite a bit of information about it, and I was like, wow, I feel like you're describing me. So she gave me a few good tips about, imagining an energetic bubble around yourself as well that nothing can penetrate. You can sit and quietly meditate, sort of a visualization of something like that before you go into a situation where you know there's going to be a lot of people or a lot of energy. It's kind of a first step. I find I don't even need to do that anymore. I'm just, really good at protecting my energy. I don't have any crystals or beads on right now for this video. You might want to wear those when you're starting. I did a lot. I was exhausted a lot when I started doing anything online. Like YouTube is a lot of energy. I can feel it when I turn my camera on. It's just the weirdest thing. It just confirms for me that energy is not confined to space and time the way we think it is. You turn that camera on and I can literally feel the change for whatever sign, like zodiac sign that I'm doing a general reading for. There are some days where I may just, myself, if I'm going through my own things in life and I'm feeling depleted, but I know, like, you have to go to work. You still have to do what you got to do. And if I know I need to do some videos, then I will put some crystals on, because it does help to kind of balance yourself. The two key elements that I find for myself are the greatest for clearing energy and settling energy are sage and a burning sage and Palo Santo sticks, as well as the singing bowl. The singing bowl I find is the most powerful. It really is really, really good at clearing the energy in a room. And you can do that before each reading too, like sort of when you're starting. You can put your cards in the singing bowl and clear the energy and like get the singing bowl going, and that's supposed to help clear the energy in the cards. There's all sorts of things that you can look into in terms of energizing the cards, clearing the cards. I think that just the strongest thing I've learned is not to let anyone else touch my cards. I don't let anyone touch. I don't care if I'm doing a reading for you. You're not touching my cards, because it really, I find it can be very difficult to clear the energy off my cards. And my readings become really scattered and unclear when other people touch them. So that's important. It's really important to touch your cards. You're going to find your own way in that. I know some readers, like that go to shows and whatnot, they will ask people to touch the deck. That's how they do it. So they're good with that. So it works for them. But figure out what works and what doesn't work. But I really recommend a Palo Santo isn't as smelly as white sage. So Palo Santo, burning Palo Santo, and a singing bowl is really, really good for protecting your energy. There's so many different things that you can do to protect your energy. That little mantra affirmation that I talk about at the beginning of my readings, also to prevent any negative, dark, heavy energy from coming in as well. Yeah, and I think that's about it. Like, you do know, depending on what you're reading for too. I know a lot of people want to, like, I get a lot of emails. Well, not so many anymore. I've kind of hidden my email address because I get too many emails. So, but people, you know, who are doing tarot on YouTube, like, how did you become so successful? I want to do exactly what you're doing. I don't really think you can go into this either with saying, okay, this is what I do. This is what I want to become. I want a successful YouTube channel. I didn't do it for that. I just did it to keep learning the craft, because I just thought I want to expand how I'm reading energy. So I used to do pick-a-cards every day. I used to do like a daily pick-a-card for people. And then I just kind of felt like I needed to grow more. I needed to expand more. So I just kind of tried a bit into the zodiac. I didn't follow like any rules in terms of how to develop and grow a YouTube channel. It just happened. I think when you do anything out of what feels like your greatest good and for others, it tends to be successful. If you go into, and I think this speaks of any sort of practice, whether it is, you know, if you want to be a psychiatrist, a social worker, you want to work with kids, or anyone who, you know, is needing some sort of help or guidance or direction. If you do that specifically because you want to make money, or you want to, you know, be at the top of the food chain, that's not really working in higher energy. It's not working for the greater good of yourself and others, and you may not be as successful. We probably won't be as successful as if you had chosen a path based on where you feel you could make the biggest difference to other people's lives and also help your growth and development. And I think through that you will find success. So if you go into reading cards or crystal balls or tea leaves or just developing your psychic intuition, and you do that because specifically you want to create a really successful YouTube channel or have so many followers on Instagram and make so much money a year, that's not why this is here. This is not, that's all man-made stuff. And you're not delving into man-made stuff when you do this. You're delving into the energy of the universe, right? So that's really important too. Like, why do you choose to do this? Why do you want to do this? So yeah, I mean, because I think it's important to think about that, because not only do you need to protect your own energy, but you need to also be a guardian of other people's energy, because they're allowing you to read them. And if you're not reading someone who has said, yeah, do a reading for me, Cindy, whether it's third party or someone that you're interacting with and you're suspicious of the way they're interacting with you, you can read that too. But just understand that you should only be looking for whatever's in the best interest of that person as well, right? Because people are entitled to their private lives and energies. Which is funny, because I do get this woman who emails me periodically and gets really mad at me because she watches the general readings on YouTube. And she gets mad at me. She says, I wish you would stop reading my energy. Why are you doing that? It's so, it just goes on and on and on. And I'm thinking like, well, if you would stop coming to the videos, you wouldn't be giving me permission to read your energy. Right? So funny. So, yeah, humanity is interesting, very entertaining, often frustrating, and always expanding. So I wanted to talk about that. I hope that kind of covered the basics in terms of the shuffle, the practice, and the protection in doing a reading. So I think if you're comfortable with all of that stuff, then yeah, feel free to go to the other videos, which I will get into all of these minor arcana cards. So I have to think about how I'm going to do that. I think it would be too much. I think I'll work on numbers first. I think that's the easiest way to start understanding the minor arcana, is just what the numbers kind of represent in tarot. So anyway, that's for another video. I hope that was helpful for the shuffle, the practice, and the protect. Oh yeah, and then, so if you're curious why I have, her name is Purple. My son named her that when he was like 2 years old, because that was his favorite color, which I'm kind of lucky, because shortly after purple was his favorite color, it became Rainbow Sparkle. Something like that. Rainbow Sparkly. Yeah, kids are so cute when they're little. So yeah, every color in the rainbow basically with sparkles was his favorite color. But we had a period of purple, and that's when she came into our lives. She is not a real skull. She is a full replica, because I learned in Canada that you can't own, unless you're a doctor, a skull. So I have her because I'm also an artist, and I've done a lot of portrait artwork, and I was teaching portrait art to like teenagers and adults a few years ago. And understanding the anatomy of the skull is very important to understanding portrait. So yeah, we used to do all sorts of drawings with purple. I think she's even got some charcoal stains on her head in a few spots, but now she just holds my Palo Santo stick. It's quite handy that she happens to have some missing teeth there, right? Like, it's fascinating. You know what? This is just so amazing looking at these things. Oh, yeah, if I had the intelligence, it would have been cool to be a doctor, but I'm not really, I'm not that academic. They're, yeah, quite fascinating. And you know, in a lot of cultures, very sacred symbol. You know, I've had a few times when purple has appeared on either a post or a video. I think it's the same lady that gets mad at me for reading her energy in the general readings. Got really upset at this, that I was wishing death upon her. But, you know, you're all walking skeletons, aren't we? So this, yeah, is often even just a very sacred symbol. It's kind of an engineering miracle, the human body. Anyways, that's for another. I could just go on and on and on. I just always like going into my head and into space and like, wow, the world is so amazing. And so is tarot and reading the energy of it. So guys, until next time, do be gentle with yourselves. Bye.